We made it. The perfect grade Zeta Gundam is finally completed. And oh my god, does it look good. Anyway, hello and welcome to my review on the perfect grade Zeta Gundam. Now, here he is in all of his glory, and I got a few things to say about this kit first. Let's scoot her back so I can almost fit the whole thing in frame because this thing is huge. The base it's standing on. I entered this kit into the GDWC, had no plan of entering it, but I did anyway, and we took second place in the kids division at my local hobby town, and it was a blast. So that's what the base is for. It was just because of a last minute decision to enter it, and I did all right, and the kit turned out amazing. This is definitely a model kit. I would not go in after just like, I want to straight build it, I want a big Zeta. That's not the mentality I'd have going into this kit. I'll go into being like, I gotta bring my A game, and I gotta make this thing look pretty, because it is so worth it going the extra mile. And speaking of going the extra mile, we have a beautiful LED I'm going to turn off now, and take away this base, and get that out of here. Yay! That might have broke something, but anyway, coming back up here at this beautiful behemoth of a model kit. Despite what a lot of people say about this kit, I disagree with pretty much every point I have ever seen on YouTube. It is a full transformation, little to absolutely zero parts forming. Here's the parts forming on the kit. You want to see it? Just look at that. That's all the parts forming. There's also one on the other side. That's it. How is this a parts former? There was someone online who said this is a parts former. It is not a parts former. Full transformation. Hell, it's more of a parts former than the show. This thing literally just like, you can keep the shield on the arm on the transformation. How is this a parts former? I don't know. Because this one part comes off, it's a complete parts former now? Okay. Try building the high grade. What is that, a Lego kit? Anyway, sorry, there's someone made a rant online about this being a parts former, and I just didn't understand what the hell they built. But anyway, this is not a parts former, full transformation, and a fully beautiful kit. It is not that hard of a build. It is a skill issue if you can't build this thing. It is freaking easy. All you gotta do is put some screws in plastic. It's not that hard. You just use a screwdriver. Don't over tighten. Use basic knowledge, and it's a breeze to build. Does it take forever? Yeah, it takes a very long time, but it is not difficult. If you know what you're doing, you take the time, pay attention to the instructions, know what you're doing. It is so easy. Also, the instructions are in Japanese. There's not too many sections I'd recommend translating, but there's a few times where I'm like, I might want to use translation, and I'm like, yeah, that was probably a good idea. Also, with the instruction manuals, too, this is another really cool thing about these old perfect grades, is they had many things, and let me foul this little booklet out, and it gives you a step-by-step transformation of the entire kit. It is absolutely awesome, and you don't need to take off the wings, they just show it because it's easier. But yeah, it's super cool. You got the finish kit there, and on the back we have the picture. It's upside down, but the picture of the Wave Rider and the picture of the completed kit and robot mode, which is also the same pictures they have on the boxes for the big box. And then there's also one other instruction booklet called the instruction manual. And we just actually get this out of the way here so we can flip through her a little bit easier. We got the back section, but it's a bunch of information about how the kit can look. I've translated most of this. This is just talking about the details on the kit. But going a little further in, we have the production of the Zeta Gundam. So we got the Ashmar, Hakashiki 2. Mark II, just a bunch of stuff, things. It's so cool. It's so much character with these old perfect grades. We got the thrusters and how they vector, and it's just so cool. And like, you got the Zeta Gundam making a landing on the ground, and it's just really freaking cool. You got like the heat distribution, re-entry, and it just goes over the development and the history of the Zeta in the real world. But this is just so cool. I love every single bit about this. It is almost worth the entry point of price just for this booklet. It is just that cool. And we have the stickers on the back, which I don't really like the stickers it comes with. Most of them are pretty much garbage. But I bought a water slide decal sheet for the kit, and it made it really pop. Otherwise, this thing's kind of plain looking. I really recommend getting some water slides for this kit because it helps it a lot. I paid about $20 for it, so not too bad. Now I'm just going to give this kit a little bit of a spin and kind of talk about what I did to it. So on the prior review here, we just showed the inner frame. Some of it's visible yet with opening hatches, like here and on the chest and head units, but most of it is completely covered up, which makes my couple of months of painting sometimes feel not worth it, but hey, that's the experience of a Gunpla builder. But overall, this kit was a joy to build. I just pretty much did basic paint aligning, number removal, and top coated with a semi-gloss top coat, and it turned out all right. Very much all right, anyway. Now we'll take a look at the accessories, and one of my favorite accessories is the Beam Saber. The only Beam Saber like this to this day. I know the Perfect Grade Unleashed has something similar, but it's not a solid piece of plastic. It's one of these that lights up with a base. But this thing is way cooler. So you just twist it, it activates, and it is super bright and looks so good in photos. And it kind of gets some lower light on this thing. You can kind of get that reflection of the red onto the kit, and you can get some sick photos with it, and it is just, it's super cool. Also, we have the little packs here for the grenade launchers. Trying to open these. Come on, get it open. There we go. And then I can show you the beautiful array of destroyers of humanity. And we also have a gorgeous gun, which is spring-loaded, which is super fun. And we have the pack, which can be removed. It's on a poly cap, so it feels super nice. Not really that much detail in here, but it's kind of fun, like you're actually reloading the kit. Wish it came with 2 of these. That way you could have 2 of them and you reload them, but yeah, that doesn't really matter because you really couldn't display 2 of them anyway. Now, I will mention, if you're trying to collapse it, be very careful. Bring this up all the way, have this all the way in here first. And when you're bringing this back, make sure you're kind of feeling it out and kind of find where that locking point is, like that, and kind of push it with it. That way you're not super stressing the snapping force inside the units, because if you just push it all the way in, smack her down, you have a really loud click. You keep doing that, it can degrade the mechanism inside, and I feel like you could probably break something, so just be super careful when doing that. And then also, boom, boom, in 2 stages, it flicks open. That is so cool. Easily my favorite rendition of the Zeta rifle, or my favorite rendition of any sort of gun from any Gunpla I've ever built. This is pretty cool. Now we come to the shield, which on this kit is pretty cool. We do have an LED unit inside of it, which is more useful in the Wave Rider mode, but this is quite heavily decaled. The gimmick, or the way this one is constructed for attaching on the arm, you have these armatures here that look super complicated, but really all you need for the actual robot mode here, because all this is mainly just for the transformation, you just need this rotation point so you can angle it on the wrist and then swivel it right here, and that's pretty much all you need. Everything else here should be locked in place. Like this, you don't really need for anything. So if you really wanted to, and you didn't want it to keep falling down on you, you could glue this or put some sticky tack or tape it or get it down to where it doesn't really fall off. But once you attach it, and I recommend pulling this out first and then putting it on, I kind of rotate it behind the wing. It's plenty solid. It ain't going anywhere. It holds up just fine. But if you wanted to have it hanging down like that, it's not going to be your best friend, and you're going to have to figure out something to modify this to stay, because that connection, while it's working right now on camera, it isn't the most secure thing, and that could easily swivel back down. So just fair warning, if you want to do a pose like that, I'd recommend securing it just a little bit better. But yeah, definitely not my favorite Zeta shield mechanism, but definitely not a bad one, and the only shield mechanism that can transform with the shield on. Don't recommend doing it. I haven't tried it yet. I know it's possible, but it's just not fun. I don't recommend it. Another thing is we can attach the rifle as well. And obviously you'd have that shortened up, but you can have that look and it be attached to the other side as well. And while we're looking at this port, we can add these little packs. Now we can just pull these out. And I painted, actually I didn't paint the pistons, but they actually come painted with these little chrome pistons inside, which are a little hard to see. There you go, kind of see them in there. And then you got some venting detail. But with this one, all you got to do is kind of angle it in. And then make sure this is out all the way, first of all. Angle it in, and then just wiggle. And eventually you can get it pushed all the way in, just like so. And then it pops out the little missiles, which are so adorable. That is cool. Of course, the Zeta does this thing. Not my favorite kit that does this. I think my favorite one so far is probably on the 2.0, because you slide it back in forward to release the missiles. This one's a little kind of cumbersome and it's a little tricky. It's not the most friendly way of doing it, and you really have to slide this back manually. But definitely the most detailed by far. So that is pretty much all the gimmicks for mounting anything on the arms. Actually holding stuff on this kit, it's not great, but it's also not that bad. If you want to actually be posing the kit while they're in the arms or hands, it might be a little bit tricky, but just getting a pose with the kit itself and then putting the weapons on top, it's not too bad. So all you really got to do is open up the hands. As you'll see, there'll be two ports. One you can use for the beam saber for mounting it in different spots. And then for the rifle, there's a little flip out tab that just comes out super easily, just like that. And you just line it up with that top hole, which this might be a little tricky. But yeah, just line it up and then wrap those fingers around. And it gets a pretty decent grip, but it's definitely loose and can come out pretty easily. So I recommend, if you're going to be posing it, to get the weapons in at the end. Also, when you're posing, get the leg set before you move on to the top, because the legs are pretty stiff on the kit and can hold their own weight still pretty well. If I give it a little bit of a wibble wobble, it will slowly start to retreat. This way is a little bit loose still, being a polycap joint, but it's not that bad and holds up the weight of the kit just fine, especially like in a stance, which is the way I'll have it on my shelf, so nothing too bad. And of course, the spring-loaded gimmick works great, and the springs are plenty enough to hold up the kit. Also, if you want to move these forward, you can still kind of see the pistons, which is super fun. These are just kind of little fun fidgety parts. But anyway, that's pretty much all. When it comes to accessories on this kit, for the robot mode, oh, one last thing, almost forgot, we have the little beam sabers that fold out and pull out. And then these, we have a little ball joint on a little tab, and these would go into the hands the exact same way as a rifle. But since these are on a ball joint, you can swivel them on that tab, and you can hold them at any angle you want, which is awesome. And then you can have the fingers wrapped around it, so you can pretty much get any pose or any holding angle with the beam saber as you want. It's super dynamic looking. A little bit tricky to set up, but you can get them looking amazing. And then, of course, it just plugs in, and you just got a traditional beam saber. Nothing too crazy, but the ball jointed connection piece is so cool, and I wish more kits would have something like this, because it just really elevates it. It's not just a straight hand. You can have it angled like this. You can have it off to the side. You can have it any way you want. And that's something that I find so cool with this kit. And also, I don't know if this is the only Zeta that does this, but when you put it in, you can actually see it coming through the top with the armor. So you can tell if they're in there just by looking at it. You don't have to open it up, which is super cool. So you actually have a point of putting them in there, not just storage, which is amazing. Now, also coming in here, my last gimmicks here is opening cockpit, which it's a little bit tricky because, oh yeah, this can also move out and in more for transformation. But trying to get this cockpit out is a little tricky. You kind of got to force things up. I'd recommend kind of opening the shoulders and actually getting the transformation unit going and then trying to get it up, just like so. And then you can see your little Camille in there. He's a little dark, but he is in there. You can see him. He's chilling. You can really only see his legs in this configuration, but he is there nonetheless. Now let me just put this unit back up and kind of open the arms back, get everything situated back in place, just like so. And there we are. Now for articulation on this thing, I'll kind of just go over basically. Kicking wise, you're not going to get much out of it. This thing is a pain to get into a kneeling pose. And the knee bend you have to be kind of careful with the pistons, especially considering I broke mine. But just be careful and bring it back. Now, what I mean by broke it, if you saw the prior video, you know what I mean. But it's just something you got to be careful with, and it's solid if you know what you're doing. Just don't be a fool like I was, and you'll be just fine. And also we have articulation at the little armor part for the foot. That can go out, back and forth, and up and down. And then at the foot or the toe, you can still see those pistons quite clearly working pretty well. And then you can pull it out further. Now I will mention the feet actually come apart rather easy, but they're super easy just to clip back on too. But yeah, you got that extra articulation on the foot, so you can get quite a bit out of it there. The arms are pretty much completely unhindered from with the armor on or off, so there's not much that has changed there. And another issue that most people have with this kit is the arms falling off. I only had the arm fall off once on me, only once. And I put it back in and I have no issues. I have posed this thing many, many times. I have done so many different transformations with this already and don't have any issues with these arms coming out. I don't see what the issue is. It's just a skill issue. I don't know what else to say. Coming around to the back here, there's really not much for gimmicks. This is pretty solid back here. Like, it's clipped into place quite well, and there's really nothing you can do. You could splay the wings out too in robot mode if you really wanted to. I can show you how that would look, something like that. But of course, that is more for transformation, which we will get into right now. Now, to actually do this, what we're going to have to do is a lot of tricky camera movements, because I've only ever done this on my lap, so this might be a whole different challenge. So, coming up to the top here, what we're going to want to do is first come to the back of the head and shut off the LED, because we don't want to waste power and we're not going to see it. And then use the V-fin, which I believe this is the only kit to do this, but it goes up with both of them. You only have to touch one. That is just so cool. I love that. It just makes it just feel a little bit more mechanical, because there's little gears in there. It's just super cool. And then this is probably the worst part of the transformation, although if you get used to it, you can kind of figure it out, but getting the head down, because you got to pull these arms out, and this yellow collar piece, once it's pushed all the way out for transformation. Now I can't really get a good view on this, but I'll try my best. But once it's all the way pushed out, if you just pull it out, it's not going to work right. So push the collar in a little bit, make sure it's past that front piece, now receded just a little bit, then splay the arms out, get your fingers underneath here, and just slowly kind of push and bring that up as you go. And just be super careful and bring the head back, tilt it back, and then just bring it up, just like so. And then all the pistons splay out beautifully, and these side armor pieces go into here. click it into place. Make sure it's actually all correctly put together. Got an issue here with this other one. Let me just get it down enough. There we go. To where this would pop back out just like that. Because I have this that needs to come back. Come on. Again, this is always the tricky part of the transformation, is trying to get these. There we go. Come on. Never actually had this much issue, but of course we're on camera, so it's going to give us a little more trouble than normal. I might just have to do this in my lap like I normally do, because this is not working the best. Come on, get in there. There's a reason why I call this a lap transformer, because it is a lot easier to do when you're... I'm just going to cut to when I have this done. I'm going to do it in my lap. And of course, once I take it off camera, it goes in super easy, but again, everything is more difficult on camera. And also while you're at it, there's a little piece here that you want to flip down. That way, this little clear part is sticking out, which will come to be more important later. And we can just bring this head back forward and then push up these little pieces here. Bring out the arms, fold them in on these beautiful pistons. You can see how they kind of rotate and compress in, which is just super cool. Now he's in a little gorilla pose. He's stretching here. Bring those arms out, rotate them. And the fists, just make sure the thumb is pretty much 90 degrees, kind of just like that, and then curl up the fingers nice and neatly and just make a fist. Again, nothing fancy, doesn't have to be perfect. They're not really going in anywhere, they're just kind of hanging out. So that's really all you need to do. And then just rotate them around 180. You can see these little cuffs too, just get them nice and square, just like so. And that's pretty much the top all done. Now we'll move on down to the leg unit. So to unclip it, all you're gonna have to do here is reach underneath here, and there's a little flap that has a little bit of a peg on it that holds together the leg unit really well. And once you undo it, then just make sure you're being super careful, because there's two tabs, one polycap on ABS and one ABS on ABS tab, and then just bring them out and then just rotate them around Gundam style. Just rotate and fold up and then bring out the leg back down. It's hard to show you what I'm doing, but if you know the Zeta, you know the Zeta, you know what it does. And then there's just a little slot and tab. If I can get this to focus, sorry about this, it's a little tricky to film. But there's just a little slot, a little tab that this locks into quite securely, just like so. And once you do that, also come to the back flap, which you can see some more detail just on the back. And then we can bring that little tab out, rotate this straight, and bring the leg in and try and get this to work. But now it's being a little tricky. Before you do that, actually, just make sure you do the other one as well. That way you have the clearance to get the back portion together. All right, there we go. Just tab that into place, swivel it down, and then bring out the other tab on the other side as well. And then, this is why I wasn't going in before, but these got to clip up so it's all aligned. That way, it goes in nice and easy. Just a polycap on ABS, so it's going to last quite a bit. And that really locks in those legs. They ain't going nowhere. And it gives you a nice base to stand it up. Now we have part of the mid-Zeta transformation, which is always funny looking. And also, we get these beautiful joints here that fold down, which they cleverly designed to get these out of the way, which is so nice because, as you'll see, these wings like to get in the way. So having that extra joint to really just bring these down and out of the way is really appreciated. And we can just do the same on this side. And those are all just nice, smooth, buttery polycaps. Now coming to the front skirts, just bring it down, fold in those little front panels. Now that that's done, we can fold up the arms into here just like so, and we have Zeta all done in his Gerwalk mode. I don't know, the mid-transformation step that makes him look like this. It is funny. I love stopping here and admiring it every time. But now we'll just switch him over just a little bit so we can focus more on these other parts here. Now to transform this, all we gotta do, simply pull it out. Again, the parts forming, oh no. Just take these parts out, which you wouldn't even have to parts form, but then it wouldn't be as secure and the LED gimmick wouldn't work. Yes, there's an LED gimmick, which I will talk more on later. And then we can also bring these little parts out, and they just have little tabs right there, which is all that's holding the shield up. That's why I recommend securing these floppy panels in there a little bit more if you're going to have the shield posed in a way gravity wants to pull it out. And then there's also these just little tabs that go into that polycap that lock these parts into place, which hold up just fine for posing in robot mode. Just swing those down and out, and then make sure you bring this out and down. That way it just looks like that. And then do the same on the other side. Rotate these out, and then make sure the thick peg is facing down, just like that. And that is the Zeta's shield all transformed. And also, this is a joint I never really use, but you can slide this up and down. I just keep it in the down position all the time because this is what you need for the robot mode. Having them up like that for the traditional kind of behind the arm look. And also, this is the spot you need for transformation. I never really use the sliding gimmick, but you can, and it's pretty freaking solid. Like, it ain't gonna go anywhere, and it feels super good. But just so you know, there is that gimmick there if you want to use it. Now coming along to the actual Gundam here, we're just gonna tab both of these little parts into the polycap. I'd recommend pulling out the arms a little bit further when doing this. And then just do that to both sides. And then come up to the top here and make sure that these tabs go down into the holes on the side right there. And then that clear tab goes into that hole, which also swivels. So actually getting that lined up can be kind of tricky, which is why I'm going to do it off camera in my lap. Whether I like to believe me or not, but I got that in there first try. And if you want to know if you got it in there correctly, just flip down this little switch here, just like that, clicks into place. You see that LED turns on. And if it's lighting Camille up in the center and there's a little bit of green light coming through, which there is, it's just not picking up on camera, you did it correctly, and congratulations, you're all good. So let's just turn that back off for now. And we will focus on arguably the trickiest part of the transformation, which is the wings back here, which isn't even terrible. It's just a clearance issue. Again, this is with every Zeta, so it's nothing against this kit. This is just how the Zeta transforms. But anyway, coming back to these wings, just going to untab them from here. It's a polycap on polycap joint right there. Then you're just going to pull on this joint. It's a double joint. Just extend it out. Now we want to rotate 180 degrees only at this joint right here. So just rotate it like so. Now that we have all this beautiful stuff exposed on the side of the wing here, we can fold this polycap up. Actually, easier thing to do is to extend it first. So take this out, which has a locking mechanism, so you'll hear a click. That's totally normal. And then make sure it's pushed all the way out. And I did top coat this, so there's a bunch of scratching issues on there. Kind of unavoidable if you want to transform the kit, but it's nothing too huge. Especially if you want to keep it in one mode, you won't have those scratching marks, but it is a little tight just out of the box. And then just kind of the traditional Zeta 2.0 wing style, where they just kind of pull out, bring up that double joint up top in the wing, and then it just pulls back in, filling in that gap. And as you do that, it will push out this little connector bit with 2 metal prongs that connects into the shield for the LED gimmick. Now I'll talk about this LED gimmick. From the shield, we have a battery pack. Runs through a moving part. Actually, no, the battery pack's not in the moving part. But it runs through here, which is a moving part, has 2 prongs that connect, that also are connected to the same LED that lights up Camille, goes into the wing, runs throughout the bottom, goes to the armature wire that goes all the way up and down, runs through here, goes out to this wing, which also rotates, that goes to a light on the LED on the far wing. That is so cool. That is amazing. The amount of engineering they had to do to get the LED gimmick to work in there is incredible. By far the trickiest part of the build, but if you just take your time, pay attention, it's quite easy. And I didn't have too much trouble with it. I did have to do a little troubleshooting, but I got it to work just fine. Now, coming out to the wing here, we're going to want to bring it forward. And what I recommend doing is collapsing it enough to where it's still going to be easy to push it back, but not all the way to where you still have some room to operate. Now, this part can be a little tricky. Make sure you have this pin also folded back down, because that's only for the robot mode. And then this one folded out. This one is the only one that's not automatic. This you have to do completely manually. And bring that out. So this one will go into here where there's a polycap connection, and then that top one, as I said, for the LED gimmick, will go into the top. And just kind of orientate this all. Biggest thing is to get it over the arm first. So you might just kind of use the back joints and extend and contract them as see fit. And then once you kind of have the part kind of put into place, and then have everything lined up, it can be kind of just pushed in just like so, and bring that other section, I just collapsed it back in, and then it clips into place, and you have that all done. So kind of a tricky part, but it is manageable once you do it a few times. Now I'll do the same thing on the other side. Now that I have it half transformed here, I'm going to kind of show you how I orientate it with my hands from the other side, so you can kind of see what's going on with this back joint right here, and what I find to be the easiest way to actually transform it. So you just kind of collapse it a little bit, get it past everything, re-extend it back out, and then I'm going to stand up for this, but make sure you have the wing over the arm, and then just start to get it over, and then collapse it back once it's over, like that, and then tab everything back in the front, which I'm also going to do off camera because it's quite tricky. And now I have the other one in there with relative ease when it's off camera. Now we can work on the legs and finishing it up. So we'll just take the giant Wave Rider fin piece, bring it down, and then just clip it all into place, or just kind of rest it. You can have it at whatever angle you want. There's really no set spot, but you can just have that beautiful part lying there. We got some nice decals set up there, and now pretty much we're at the home stretch here. All we got to do, rotate this around, bring it up, and then rotate that little pin out, bring it into the polycap, which is a polycap ABS joint, and then make sure this is flush like so, And that is it, and that isn't going anywhere, and that is secured, and also helps secure the legs in as well. Just get this same tab out. Always forget which way it folds out. But then just line it up, and then tab it in, and then push that joint all the way back into place. Make sure that's super secure. Coming to the back here, fold up the legs and fold in the heel. All super seamless polycap construction. It feels amazing. And then also bring this up like so. And for the absolute coolest part of this Zeta, actually, I don't know, there's like 50 different awesome things on this. If I haven't mentioned yet, this is my favorite model kit I have ever built. The legs. There is a spring-loaded piece here, so it actually collapses into the leg itself, and it springs back out for robot mode, so it's completely filled. But look at this leg bend. How everything just shifts and pulls out. You got the black piece coming out. The whole thing just falls into place seamlessly. Make sure that trapdoor is pushed in a little bit, and then look at that. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. Everything. The thruster coming out, this folding up, the piston wiring shifting, everything being spring-loaded when it comes back. Just the whole situation in the leg system is so cool. So mechanical feeling. And it creates an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous leg system. And then we also have the beautiful thruster components. Now, I just realized something. I masked this off for spray painting. I never took the tape off of this thruster when I was masking. The other one, nice and chromy and silver. This one's nice and matte because there's still tape on there. That's been on there for a very long time. That is hilarious. But looking at the thruster here too, nice and maneuverable. Can be moved in any direction. There's some beautiful maneuverability and thrust vectoring. And you can see a bunch of the inner mechanics too of the gold peeking through. It's just so good. And also on these vents here, you can take the beam saber, because that's pretty small, and open it up. And you have these three parts that are all connected and has another vent inside the vent that can close and open inside this yellow section for the funnel. And it's just so cool. Absolute poetry in plastic this thing is. It is gorgeous. We also have the thrusters back here, which I also comedically forgot to take off the tape I used to mask it off. That is pretty funny. That's great. The only one I remembered is that side there. All the other thrusters are still masked up. I had that way for quite a long time at this point. That's funny. Anyway, let's pull this leg up here, just like so. Bring it up, and I'll give you a different angle, and you can see how that little piece kind of moves with everything right here, that piping. And then just bring it in, and everything situates just like that. You just got to move it, and everything moves for you. Just automatically transforming. So incredibly cool. And yeah, that's it. That's Zeta, all done, pretty much. Now, if you actually want to display this thing, because it doesn't come with a base, and you don't want it sitting like this, obviously, we can do some more parts forming. I'll just flip it around here, take off this piece, like so. Take off these back sections as well. Grab in the metal pieces, and each one has its certain spot. We have the bigger tab here, goes into a polycap. The smaller one just goes into the plastic itself. So I kind of recommend getting in that polycap and then wiggling it back forward into these smaller joints and just easing it in, because metal on plastic will wear over time, so just be careful with that. And just set them in. And now we have beautiful, beautiful metal pieces for the landing gear, nice and robust, for it to sit on. And now we have the figure in, or not figure, the model kit in Wave Rider mode. And this thing is so solid, it might as well just be an action figure. It is just that good. Looking at this kit, it just makes me so happy that I put the extra effort in. And for the final touch here, if you did everything correctly, the wings will light up. Just gotta push it. There we go. Come on. Wait, where's this? Okay, I can't see what I'm doing down here. Let's get it. There we go. Oh, there we go. Little bit touchy right now, but make sure. I think it's this piece not being in all the way. I don't know why it's flickering. Come on, get going. 1 second. There we go. We got it nice and solid. Do have some bleed through with the LED light. This red light is super bright, and the other one on the other side for the green is quite dim. I wish the other red one was a little dimmer, but it's super bright and it bleeds through a little bit. And I sandwiched these together with some Tamiya, and those are not coming apart, so I can't really fix that bleed through. But that is just fine, because if I could fix it, I wouldn't want to anyway, because taking apart those wings would not be fun. And turning that on too, we have the light for Camille in there as well. I don't know if you can see any of the green light shining on him, but it is there. There we go, get some darker light. Now you can see it pretty good. It is there, just so you know. And zooming back out here, we can turn on the big light up top for the Wave Rider fin here. Don't really know what that's called. Maybe just a stabilizer, whatever, that piece. But there it is in all of its beautiful 2000s Zeta glory. And if we want to, for gimmicks here, we can pull out the the beam saber, but canisters, plug in the effect part, and we can have it shooting. I don't know if it does this in the show. I haven't got that far into Zeta yet. I actually started watching Gundam finally, and I just got to the point where the Zeta shows up, so I thought it'd be a great time to finally get this review out and show you guys the progress on this model kit. Now, for my final thoughts, this kit is definitely not for the beginner. This is for your little more experienced modeler, someone who kind of knows what they're doing, because you got to know what you're doing to be able to do this. This isn't something you can just walk into. You got to understand the philosophy of the instructions and how Gunpla is built and how these older kits work to really dive into this and have a pleasant time. I think a lot of the people that have issues with this are people who aren't experienced enough and just kind of struggle. But I had little to no issues other than the one breakage point, which was my own fault. When I was showing somebody, I was not being careful, not paying attention, and broke it. And I also broke it because I didn't have the armor on yet, and there was some stuff that wasn't super stable. So again, my own fault. Now, for actually painting this kit, I would say it is almost a necessity to make this thing look good. Out of the box, it's really nothing spectacular. It's kind of just a big high grade with all the pretty stuff hidden underneath. And if you're not going to transform it, none of the fun factor comes through. And it's just a really big high grade, really. But actually, looking into the mechanics, you can see where the perfect grade comes out. It is not the armor, it's the mechanics and detail underneath that beautiful, pretty primary plastic. And once you actually look at everything, I'd say this kit is 100% worth it. I know it's gotten a reprint semi-recently, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. Also, we can get the gun on the top of the Wave Rider as well. My whole thing with Gundam is if you like a design, go for it. Don't care what other people say about how a kit is. I would recommend looking into the kit before you get it to know what you're getting into, to know if you have the skill set necessary for it. Most kits you can just dive straight into and be just fine, but make sure you know what you're getting into. If you like the design and you know what you're doing, you'll have a great time with any kit. There's no such thing as a bad kit because you gotta build it. If it's a bad thing, it's a skill issue. Stand by that because it is true. Anyway, you can also plug this into any 3 ports. There's some ports on the side of the skirt armor as well. And that is pretty much all for this review. And I hope to see you guys soon. Anyway, that has been it. Peace out.